The recording has started. Amazing. I'm sat in my Gremlins. Oh, it's actually transcribing this. How exciting. My Gremlins t-shirt. Nice and relaxed and calm. Let's get going. I really hope this is sharing. I can't actually check because I'm recording this for myself. But yes, welcome. This is a recording of my taster session. The reason I've done this is because I find that things crop up in life, don't they? Especially with free online stuff, it's not your top priority, and I get that 100%. And so I have recorded this so that if you aren't able to access my taster sessions, you can access this recording instead. So yeah, let's get started. Welcome to Hypnobirthing. Perfect. So yeah, today is a taster session. Now I must reiterate, this is a taster. My classes are 3.5 hours long, and I do 3 classes over 3 weeks. And so it's only an hour. I usually run a little bit over just because I like to talk. And I usually talk way too fast. And so I have to pace myself to speak slow, which means I speak a little bit too slow sometimes. But yeah, so it's just an hour. But what we're going to cover today, I'll cover a bit about me so you know who I am. I'm going to cover the mechanisms of labour because that explains why hypnobirthing works. I'll discuss what actually is hypnobirthing, what's the hype about, why does it work, something called the mindset effect. I'll discuss 2 hypnobirthing techniques that you can then take away from this taster to practice at home. And then we'll watch a positive birth story of a really lovely water hypnobirth. I'll discuss about my classes, how my classes work, and then a bit of practice at the end. So, a bit about me. Here I am in Morocco. My name is Sarah. Lovely to meet whoever is watching this recording. I am a final year student midwife. I am very excitingly 6 months away from qualifying, which is amazing, but also scary, but also amazing. Before being a student midwife, I was a doula for 2 years. I worked with vulnerable mums. So I worked with mums with mental health problems, refugee mums, and then teenage mums as well. So I'm not really your typical doula, if you know what a doula is. But I was all about holistic pregnancy support, education, and then mental health support as well, because with my background, I was working with. But yeah, I've got a total of about 5-6 years worth of experience. I'm a bit like a pregnancy encyclopedia. I usually know the answer, and if I don't know the answer, I know the safest place to get that answer for you. Apart from that, obviously, I'm a hypnobirthing teacher, I promise. Big calm births. I've been a hypnobirthing teacher now for just over a year. I'm also trained in aromatherapy for childbirth. I've got my peppermint oil going as it is. And I discussed that in my class as well, how to use it. I'm also trained in birth biomechanics, which is basically all about positioning and how positions can help facilitate labour. I'm also trained in birth trauma counselling or talking therapy. And I'm also trained in some very specialist risk factors in pregnancy, such as preeclampsia, hyperemesis gravidarum, stillbirth, pregnancy losses, things like that. So I have a lot of extensive background in both holistic and medical knowledge to do with pregnancy. And what that means is a lot of people that I teach and I support either are anxious or have one of these conditions, because what it means, I can kind of adapt what I say based on your circumstances, which is really helpful if you're anxious about birth, because I just debunk all those fears. I've seen a lot of birth, so I can answer a lot of questions. And I also give that broad perspective of birth. I haven't just seen one type. I've pretty much seen all there is, I think, in the textbook. So I have got quite a well-informed, broad experience. But yeah, that is a bit about me. So to the interesting bit, what actually is hypnobirthing itself? So hypnobirthing is 4 main techniques, which will all start to make sense as I carry on this presentation. But it's kind of a mixture of the hypnosis bit and the birthing bit. So the birthing bit is the education, like an antenatal class. It is everything you need to know, from pregnancy to labour to birth to having a baby, being a mum, and all that comes with that. because there is a lot to learn and you just can't cover it in the time you get with a midwife nowadays. You get about 20 minutes in community and you get about 2 hours to a couple of hours with the hospital. You got to think my classes are 3 times 3.5 hours, and I answer questions outside of class as well. And there is a lot to learn. And the reason why education is so important is because birth is unpredictable. I cannot say to you, I'm going to guarantee you this birth, because babies are cheeky. They just do what they want. And the main thing is being prepared for all outcomes, because you just never know. And that's not a bad thing. And I think it can be really frightening sometimes, thinking, but I just can't predict what's going to happen. But that is just labour. That is how it is. It's this amazing, intense experience, but it's just unpredictable sometimes. So if you know about what can happen, you have this toolkit that you take into those situations that keeps you grounded and keeps you feeling safe and supportive. That will be a positive birth experience. So yeah, that's why education is so important. So the other main techniques of hypnosis, hypnotherapy, one is breathing techniques. Again, I can't go into the exact details. It's just too long for this taster session. But there's 3 main ones. There's easy breathing, there's mountain breathing, and there's birth breathing. And I discuss those in a lot more detail in my classes on why they're beneficial. The other one is affirmations, and they were quite quick to say that negative affirmations will have a negative impact on our mental health and our mindset. For instance, if I say you shouldn't be proud of yourself, you're not doing very well, blah, 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 your brain will just start to think, we've heard it quite a few times now. Is this true then? And it's the same that goes for positive. Our brain has to hear something 30 times in order to retain it and remember it. Same with positive. And it's the kind of things that you feel a little bit silly doing it at first, but then you just start to see the impact. But also affirmations are really important for labour, because labour is such an intense experience. And sometimes somebody just saying you are doing really well, you're doing okay, you're really safe, trust that feeling and trust your body. And it makes such a big difference, because you'll forget that it's safe, you forget that you can trust your body, you forget that you're doing really well. And that is the role of the birth partner, if that's your mum, your friend, your husband, your boyfriend, your wife, your girlfriend, the midwife, your doula, whoever it is. Your affirmations, super important. And then visualizations. So our brain is very clever, but it is not as clever as we think it is. So when we look at something, I'm looking at my screen right now, the image goes into my eyes and then gets projected at the back of my head. And that is how I see what I'm looking at. So our brain does the exact same thing if we're thinking about it or if we're actually seeing it. And that is why if we're having a nightmare, if you ever those nightmares that are just awful, and like you wake up and you're sweating and your heart's pounding and you're breathing really fast, or the worst ones are where you're going downstairs and you slip and you actually jump in your sleep because you think you've fallen. Like, what horrendous feeling. But you're not seeing that. You're seeing it in your head, but it's not real. And visualizations can have such a big impact. And obviously in pregnancy and labor, and as a new mum, you want somewhere safe, somewhere positive, and somewhere calming. Now, why do we want this? Why are all these things so beneficial? It will all make sense when we understand why labour happens and what hormones are involved. So, I'll discuss how does birth happen first, and that then explains the benefits. So, a contraction in labour. So, when you think contraction, you think inwards, right? Contracting inwards. But if we did that, where's your baby going? It's just getting squished. We want our baby to go downwards. We want your baby's head to hit your cervix and help that cervix dilate. So it can't go inwards, it has to go downwards. So how does it do that? This muscle is super strong and it's super clever. So instead of contracting inwards, it waves down. So it starts on the top left-hand corner and then radiates all the way downwards to help push from the top to the bottom, to push your baby's head down onto your cervix. And so it is a wave, and sometimes you can even feel that wave happening. You can feel that pressure starting at the top and then moving its way down. And using that with the mountain breathing, that breathwork technique, is really beneficial. Again, can't cover it today just because of time, but mountain breathing, really good for coping with contractions in advanced stages of labour. But Hormones hormones you want to know about. So oxytocin, if you take anything away from this taster session, you want this hormone in bucket loads. You want it overflowing every single bucket you have. So what actually is oxytocin? Oxytocin is a loving hormone. We produce it when we feel good. We produce it when we cuddle our partner. We produce it when we orgasm, when we have sex. We produce it when we're bonding with people. It actually makes part of our brain larger to help with bonding with our baby. And it is the hormone that gets you into labor. It causes those contractions. That is what we want. And so if we were going to induce you medically, we actually use a synthetic version of this hormone to cause your contractions. So yeah, oxytocin, super, super important. We produce it when we feel positive, we feel safe, we feel calm, we feel supported. It's a loving hormone, makes us feel good, causes contractions, causes labor. So yeah, oxytocin, oxytocin, oxytocin. We want so much of it. Take anything away, take that away. But we can't feel super happy and super stressed. Sometimes we can, but realistically, you can't. And so if we have a lot of stress hormones, this hormone goes down. So the hormone that this oxytocin works against is adrenaline. So if we have a lot of adrenaline, our oxytocin tanks, hits the floor. And so adrenaline, it's a long word, it's a stress hormone. So we produce it when we've got pain, when we're afraid, and when we're stressed. So it's really good for keeping us safe. But we can produce it whether it's a real threat or danger or a perceived threat or danger, so nothing that's real. So in relation to labor, if we were stressed, if we were afraid, and we were struggling to cope with that intense pain, we have a lot more of this hormone. But then what that means is this hormone goes down. If this hormone goes down, contractions can stop, become less frequent, become more uncomfortable, things like that. So that is the two main hormones just to be aware about for this taster session. The other one you need to know about is something called endorphins. Endorphins are amazing hormones. They make us feel so, so good. We produce them when we eat a bar of chocolate, when we exercise, when we go for walks, when we cuddle our partner. It's very similar to oxytocin, but it acts as a natural painkiller. Have you ever had somebody who does like intense exercise or yoga or stretching where they go, it hurts, but it actually feels really good at the exact same time? Endorphins doing their job. And so it kind of relates to how pain works. And again, I could go on a tangent right now about pain. I'll keep it simple. But pain is very much controlled by our mindset, as weird as that sounds. And that is how hypnosis works. So if you can imagine a receptor, and when we have pain, this chemical gets in that receptor and we feel pain. So the way painkillers work is they knock off that receptor, the chemical in that receptor, and they fill it with the medication, the painkiller, and that blocks off the pain. That's how it works. Endorphins do the exact same thing. So you have this receptor, chemical in it causes pain. Endorphins go, get rid of you, go in there instead. So endorphins block that pain. They help with pain. Mother Nature had to give us a way to cope with labor because pain relief is still pretty recent. It's not been around that long. Women have been birthing for centuries, for decades. So we had to have ways to cope with it naturally as well. Oxytocin makes us feel good. If we feel good, we get endorphins. Endorphins are natural painkillers. And when you understand these hormones, it makes sense as to why hypnobirthing works. I'm the kind of person where I need to know why something works to believe it works. And then this makes it all make sense. So they are the hormones you need to know about. Going backwards. So why use hypnobirthing? What is the hype? So benefits of hypnobirthing, endorphins, we've discussed those. Natural painkillers. If you are calm, if you are relaxed, if you feel safe, oxytocin, endorphins, they help us cope with the pain, but they also act as natural painkillers. Promotes a positive birth experience. Now, this is all about a mixture of education and grounding and calming techniques. It's like we say, anything could happen because anything could happen. Here's how you can cope with it. Nothing to panic about. Here's a toolbox. Pick the things you need, put it in your toolbox. So whatever happens, you've got it there. You can apply it to a cesarean birth, to an instrumental birth, to a natural spontaneous birth in hospital, a pool birth, or at home, wherever it is. These techniques provide benefits for all of them. They all reduce the pain. They all promote a positive birth experience. And one thing I can say from doing a lot of birth trauma counselling, but also being a doula and a midwife, is a lot about someone's experience in birth. It's not about necessarily what happened exactly. It's how that person experienced and perceived that event in itself. If you are informed, if you feel safe, if you feel supported and calm, you will most likely have a positive birth experience. Really big one to take away. Obviously, there's all the benefits of the reduction in pain, but also more oxytocin, more contractions, shorter labours. But my main benefit with hypnobirthing is that positive birth experience, because that's the most important thing for you as a mum, as a family unit. That's the most important thing. Also, it reduces the risk of postnatal depression. So oxytocin, happy hormone. It's produced postnatally as well when you've had your baby. And that is because bonding, it makes our brain bigger in that bonding part of our brain. We want lots of that to bond with our baby. Also, it's a happy hormone. It makes us feel better. So the postnatal depression hormones, it helps kind of subside those effects. But also, oxytocin is really, really clever. It also is a hormone that causes contractions, right? It causes contractions. And in your breasts, you have milk-producing cells that are surrounded by these muscle cells. And so when they contract, it pushes the milk out of the nodules into your nipple and then into baby's mouth. Now, what causes muscles to contract? Oxytocin. So if we have oxytocin, those muscles contract, they push the milk out of the breast. It's called the letdown reflex. So we want a lot of oxytocin to breastfeed as well. So it promotes breastfeeding, and that's why. I hope this is all making sense. It's hard because it's a recording, I can't ask you, but I'm hoping this is all making sense. If at points you find that makes no sense at all, write the question down and then just email me. Less complicated deliveries in theatre. Now, the reason why this is because if we are stressed, we have a lot of adrenaline. Hard to say it now sometimes. Your heartbeat increases. You're stressed. Everyone that awful sinking feeling when you feel anxious and your heartbeat's going. Your heartbeat increases, but also your heart is pumping at a much greater pressure, your blood pressure as it's called. So if we are stressed, you have an increased heart rate, increased blood pressure. Now, if your heart is pumping faster and it's pumping at a greater pressure, you've got a lot of blood circulating around. If you're in theatre, that can increase blood loss. So if you have a nice stable heart rate, a nice stable blood pressure, it can reduce the risk of bleeding in theatre, but also generally in birth end of. But what it also does is if your heartbeat is stable and if your blood pressure is stable, your baby's heartbeat is stable. You and your baby are connected via your placenta. So whatever happens to you will impact baby. Heartbeat is a really important thing for labour. If your heartbeat becomes too fast, your baby's heartbeat follows suit. It copies you. You're connected. So it helps your baby stay happy as well in theatre. They seem calmer. When we look at their heartbeat on a trace, we think, baby looks happy in there. No need to rush. Baby's happy. Mum looks calm. Let's get going. So it's less complicated bleeding-wise, but also that experience is less complicated, if that makes sense. Perfect. So that is the benefit of hypnobirthing. Benefits for all kinds of birth, because all of these things will have an impact no matter what the birth experience you have, if that makes sense. So skip. So how does hypnobirthing actually work then? Like, why does it work? And so we've discussed the hormones, we've discussed how they relate to the benefits themselves of hypnobirthing on the table. So why does this work in the end? What's the hype? Birth. So if I say the word birth to you, what do you think of? And a lot of people that I teach are first-time parents, and some are like second-time, third-time parents, but even birth then has the same connotations. And so usually the answers I get, hospitals, I get bleeding, I get pain, I get exhaustion, or I get negative or traumatic. And I think as somebody who's seen hundreds of births, it is really sad that this is the connotations we have. And I think if you're a first-time parent, why do you think that? Because you've never gone into labour. I know you've seen it, but you've never actually experienced it or felt it. And have you seen any labours? Because I've seen a lot, and they don't all look like that. So it all comes down to something called the mindset effect. And it's all about how our external influences impact our subconscious mind. I'll go into what that is in just a second. So think about all the external influences you might have on how you perceive birth, childbirth, labour. So One Born Every Minute, really popular TV show. There is a lot of controversy surrounding this TV show that I will not go into today. But it's an interesting one. They want to dramatize birth because you wouldn't watch it otherwise. If you watched a really calm, positive birth, it doesn't get views, does it? It doesn't grab attention. So there is slightly this skewed perception of birth. Anyway, not today. Not that debate for today. Births in films, Game of Thrones, House of Dragon, Downton Abbey, loads of films of birth in it. Especially American films, when the waters break and they just birth in the corridor. Even the waters can break at any point or not at all. But anyway, another tangent. And sometimes stories from families, friends, people you meet in the street sometimes as well. It goes along the lines of, oh, you're pregnant. Oh, congratulations. That's amazing. You know, I had my baby. It was horrendous. I was in labor for like 10,000 years. I almost died. My epidural did not work. The worst pain in my life. I thought I was being ripped into. My baby was almost died too. Just stressed and just so unhappy in there. You know what? My midwife almost died. Everyone almost died. It was the most horrendous experience of my life. Now that is very negative. And one thing again, I'm not downplaying anybody's experience of birth. Birth trauma is a thing, and I counsel people who have birth trauma. Okay, so I'm not downplaying anybody's experience. But one thing I can say is your perception of an event can be very different to what happened. And a lot of that is to do with mindset. But it's also to do with how you experienced it. It's your support network within your birth space, the midwife looking after you, things like that as well, which I do appreciate. But sometimes people want to dramatize their story because they want your response. They want you to say, that was awful. I'm so sorry you experienced that. I completely understand why. But it's just taken away from that. Sometimes the stories are not always as they seem. They are not always what happened. So we've heard all these things, and our brain stores everything we've ever heard or experienced just in case. Our mind is like a really big hoarder. It just collects it all just in case we need it. So there's two main components of our mind. There's also a pre-conscious part of our mind. Again, too much detail for today. But the two main ones to know about is our subconscious and our conscious mind. So I'm not very good at describing things. I like using analogies and metaphors, and that's just me. So the subconscious mind is a bit like a warehouse. So it stores everything we've ever experienced, felt, or heard just in case we need it. Big hoarder. And so when we receive an unknown message or threat, our brain's like, right, what do we know about this thing? I'll get the box out. So one example I can give is when I did my driving exam. Now, I've never done a driving exam before. It's completely new to me, so I couldn't compare it to an experience I already had. But I have taken exams. And so my brain went, oh, right, get the box, exams, right, pull it out, look in it, right. Oh, stress. Oh, important. Oh, grades. Oh, they even cost money now, this one. And all these things get pulled out. Brain's like, this looks bad. Panic, stress. Everyone panic, emergency button. Red lights flaring, everyone running around crazy. That's what our brain does. Because it wants to keep us safe. It thinks, well, if exams are bad, everyone start panicking. And so that's what our brain does. It just picks it up from that box in that warehouse, opens and goes, oh, what's in here? Panic. So we don't realise we're doing this. If you ever thought, I feel anxious, but I don't even know why, that's this part of our mind. Even like if you go for your first blood test. I have been a doula and almost a midwife now for a long while, and I've never really gotten my bloods taken until I had to when I started working in a hospital. And the first time, I was honestly so anxious because I was like, I've never had my bloods taken, but I just know like it's a needle, it's in a soft part of my body, and it is like blood. So I've got all these connotations in my head. It's gonna hurt. It's not gonna be nice. I need to stress about this. So yeah, unknown messages, pulls the box out, opens it up and thinks, should we panic or not? So imagine on one of these shelves is a box that's got birth, big black writing on the side. And so 1 every minute, TVs, stories, or just Instagram, TikTok. I know over lockdown there was a whole like 10 reasons why you shouldn't have a baby thing going on. Toxic, don't like it. But it's in that box. It's all stored in there just in case we need it. And so when presented with the situation of birth, we pick out that box and whatever's in there is how we respond. I'll go into that in just a second. And then our conscious mind. So it's similar to a backpack. It's there to just keep to hand and grab. It's within easy reach. It helps us make daily decisions. And we're aware of everything we're thinking in this part of our mind. Unlike the subconscious, we are not aware and we cannot control it. Conscious, we can. It's, I'm picking up this cup of tea, taking it as if it's far too cold, which needs more sugar as well. Conscious part of my mind, thinking about it. It's rational, it's logical. So they are the two main parts of the mind. I really hope that made sense. So we're now going to relate all of this, the hormones, the mindset, into what this looks like in labour. So in labour, this is an unknown situation. So just in case, we're going to perceive it as a threat, because we'd rather assume it's a threat than assume it's nothing and it actually end up being a threat. Makes sense. So you might feel a contraction. It might be you get pregnant and think about birth. It might be a Braxton Hick, or it might be somebody giving you a story about labour. Now your body goes, is this a threat? Let's assume it is just in case. Right. So what do we know about birth? Oh, warehouse, find the box. They go, right, here's the box. Oh no, oh no, right, everyone panic, emergency button, panic, red lights running around. That's the warehouse. So that's what our brain does. And we do it really quick. We're not aware we're doing it, which is why lots of parents panic. They feel a contraction and panic. And then what happens is all these stored memories we pulled out of this box are telling us that birth is dangerous, birth is frightening, and birth is scary. Now, if we have a danger that is frightening and scary, probably ought to run away. That's why we've got this mechanism, because back in the caveman and cavewomen eras, if we were birthing in a cave and we met a bear, not the best place to give birth, really, not the safest. So we need a way to stop our birth, run away to safety, and then continue our labour. And that's why we actually have this mechanism. And if you watch the other animals in other animal kingdoms, they do actually do this. I once watched a video of a cat birthing kittens and a dog barked at her. She stopped her labour, ran to the other end of the garden, got in a corner where she was safe, and then gave birth. It's really interesting. So yeah, it's dangerous, it's frightening, it's scary. That's what we think anyway. Our body enters this stress response, that fight, flight, freeze, tongue twister response. So our adrenaline levels surge through the roof, and so our oxytocin levels tank and hit the floor. Now, if this is our contraction-causing hormone, then contractions are less effective or less frequent or less strong. And so if there's less contractions because of less oxytocin, there's less things pushing a baby's head down. If there's less contractions pushing baby's head down, the cervix then struggles to dilate. Plus, if your muscles are more constricted, your contractions will be more painful. Your muscles are constricted because in order to run away, you need really tense, really strong muscles to run as fast as you can. Your uterus is a muscle. The impact is the exact same on your leg muscles versus your uterus muscles. So if your muscle is tighter and it's trying to wave and do a contraction downwards, it can actually hurt a lot more. Plus, less oxytocin, less endorphins, less natural painkillers. So In order to run away, we need to think about what muscles do we need. We need big, big leg muscles. We need our heart, we need our brain, we need our arms to run, to think fast, for our heart to work fast, and for our legs to start legging it. So blood flow is directed to those major organs that help us run away. Because your uterus is not essential for running away, it's diverted away from your uterus, so away from baby. Now, it isn't super profound, but your baby is very sensitive. So even a little bit less blood and a little bit less oxygen, again, it's nothing major, but even a little bit, they might respond badly to. And so if babies aren't liking that, because babies are cheeky, I always say it, they may become distressed, or maybe not as profound as distressed, but their heartbeat starts to change. They look a little bit less happy in there. Now, as a midwife, if you're worried about a baby's well-being because their heartbeat's looking a little bit funny, we'd say, can we pop you on a monitor? It's 2 straps over your belly, monitors baby's well-being continuously, just in case they're not happy and we can see what's going on. You go, yep, that's completely fine. But the best way to do it is by popping on the bed. Is that all right? Yep, that's fine. You're on your back. Labour hurts a little bit more because you're on your back now. So you ask me for some more pain relief. Absolutely fine. I give you some more pain relief, but that has a few risks associated with it. And it may be a case of, because your contractions are more painful, you're on your back and you can't use gravity, help baby get pulled down with gravity and move around. You might want an epidural. Again, absolutely fine. Epidurals make you numb from the waist down. And because of that, you might not always feel yourself going for a wee. So if you're struggling to go for a wee, going for a wee is really, really important in labour. I discuss it in my classes. So we'd say to make sure you're going for a wee, we're going to give you a catheter, and that is a thin tube that goes into your urethra, into your bladder, and drains urine all the time. Yeah, that's fine. But because contractions are more painful, because you have an epidural, you've got a thin plastic tube going into your bladder, I'm a little more stressed now as well. Your oxytocin's climbed a little bit, but not very much. So labour may slow down or will stop completely. Now, if your labour stops completely or starts to slow down, we're probably going to say, shall we get you on the hormone drip? And like I said, that hormone drip is a synthetic version of oxytocin. It's a man-made version of that natural hormone. So pop on the drip, they cause contractions. Those contractions are more painful on the drip and they have risks with them. So if baby's not liking that drip, or if you're not enjoying that drip and the pain relief's not working, your adrenaline will keep going up and up and up, oxytocin going down, down, down. Baby may not be very happy in there. So we may either say to stop the drip, or it might be a case of discussing a cesarean section, a C-section in theatre, either for your benefit or for baby's benefit. Now, as you can see, it started to cascade almost, like one thing to the next. And this is called the cascade of intervention. Now, if you haven't heard of the cascade of intervention, definitely give it a look up, because it's a really important thing to understand and to know about. Obviously, it's not always a definite, if you have an epidural, it's going to happen to you by any means. I've seen lots of natural births with epidurals, but it's just something to be aware of. And what we can also see in this is a cycle called the fear, tension, pain cycle. Here's my lovely handwriting. So fear, tension, pain, it's how they all interlink. So you feel a contraction, you have that initial response of fear, you have that flight, fight, freeze response. Adrenaline is produced, and because of that, we have more tension. Our muscles are tighter, they are more constricted. Those surges, contractions, tightenings, whatever you want to call them, are less effective or less frequent. Because our muscles are tighter and the surges hurt more, we have increased pain. If we have increased pain, we have more adrenaline. If we have more adrenaline, we have more fear. And as you can see, this cycle just keeps going and going and going and going and going. Now, what hypnobirthing does is it can't always prevent that initial bit of fear, especially as a first-time parent. You will have that initial bit of fear, and that's so normal. But what it does is it goes in between that fear and tension bit. So when you get that adrenaline release, we have methods to ground you, to calm you, to suppress that adrenaline, boost that oxytocin, keep you calm to avoid that tension bit of this cycle. It can be used at any point, is the truth as well. It's all about calming, about grounding, about boosting that oxytocin, reducing those fears. And that is how hypnobirthing works. Because hypnotherapy in birth, but also in pregnancy. So in pregnancy, hypnotherapy is used to kind of change that mindset. It's to empty out that box, pick it all apart and go, no, no, no. Bring in this idea, this positive. Just anything can happen, but I'm prepared for it. I'm going to be safe. I've got the support of my partner and all these positive things. Then replace all those negative things in that box. That's how it works in pregnancy. It's used to transform your mindset, to make you feel better about birth, to try and prevent that initial fear response. And then in labor, it's used to ground you, to calm you, to get those endorphins flowing, to get more oxytocin, get those contractions coming, things like that. So I hope that all makes a lot of hand gestures here. I hope that all makes sense. That is all the ins and outs of hypnobirthing itself. Now, it's great me saying there's all these benefits, but what are the people that I supported actually saying? So I've got two very different experiences. One is a natural labour with a bit of intervention, and one is a planned C-section. Sip of water first. My tea is still cold. But Donia is such a lovely lady. She wanted a hospital birth, and she wasn't too anxious before, but I think she wasn't quite aware of the amount there is to learn. And so she came into thinking I was going to be the kind of person that said, I'll just not learn about it and just take everything and accept it as it is and work my way through labour that way. We ask you a lot of questions in labour. There are a lot of options you have in labour. And it's good to know about them because they can make a really big difference to your experience of that birth. So, her birth was very intense. I'm not denying birth is intense. I'm not saying if you hypnobirth, you're going to have a pain-free birth. Birth is intense. It really, really is. What hypnobirthing does is it gives you that toolbox. It gives you those grounding, those calming techniques. It gives you that support. It reassures you. It grounds your birth partner. It improves that birthing environment. Oxytocin's flowing. That's what we want. That's what we want. So she dilated from 3 to 7 centimeters in just over an hour, and that's very, very fast. It can be slower than that. That is very normal, but that is really quick, and it is quite common to have a faster labour if you're hypnobirthing. So breathing was the only thing that got me through this stage because that is quite intense. That is a very big difference in a dilatation in a very short space of time. And what those breathing techniques, the easy, the mountain, the birth breathing, it allows you to center and to focus. So she had an overwhelmingly positive, although still very hard, experience giving birth. Now she ended up having a little bit of intervention and instrumental birth, but she was honestly so enthusiastic about her experience. And I was just so glad. I was just so glad that she got the experience she wanted. And that was just to have a baby and to look back and have enjoyed that experience. It wasn't a certain type of birth. It was how she felt within that birth that made the biggest difference. And then she said, I got through labour on just 4 paracetamol. And that hypnosis state kind of felt like a natural pain relief. And that's those endorphins working. This is a Google review. You can go read it if you like. I've also got her birth story on my website. Sorry, so I'm not lying, I promise. And she said, if I hadn't have had those tools, that toolbox, it would have been really overwhelming. And that's the thing. Hypnobirthing is great because it has those endorphins, those natural painkillers. But for me personally, the main benefit of hypnobirthing, it's to ground you. It's to make you feel safe, supported, informed. It's to reduce that overwhelming feeling of labour because it is so intense. And it just means you'll have a positive experience no matter what happens. So the next experience is Laura and Sarah and the beautiful baby here on the left. And Sarah and Laura were quite anxious, and for them, the best thing they could have done was to have a planned C-section, and that was the best thing for them. Now, they were very anxious about having the C-section, so there's a lot of information regarding like websites to look at and different medical websites and how to kind of think about if it's the right option for them. And so they were actually really excited for their birthing experience. They felt they had a really safe and a really calm cesarean section. But also on our last session, Sarah was desperate to have a waters break, and I was like, her at the start of our classes was the complete opposite of where she was. She's like, I want to go into labour right now, just because she wanted that section of Helia. She wanted a baby. She was excited, she wanted to do it. She was excited to have a baby now. And what actually happened is our last session finished and her waters broke 10 minutes later, and then she went into labour that night and had a baby that night by a section. And honestly, like, they're so lovely. Their baby is gorgeous. And again, it's that experience, it's that positive mindset, it's those coping techniques, it's those grounding techniques. That's why hypnobirthing is so, so amazing. I've seen so many labours, and the hypnobirthing labours, it makes such a big, big difference. It is a completely different birthing environment. And again, no matter what happens within that birth, their way of coping with those differences, those intense feelings, potentially interventions as well, they just feel so much more relaxed, and for them that makes it a positive experience. So they are two amazing birth stories. There was lots of birth stories online. My trainer Calm Birth have a lot of their birth stories on there as well, and there's lots of different kind of births. There's natural births, there's home birth, there's hospital birth, there's instrumental birth, there's C-sections, and for some people, listening to these stories really reassures them, and for some it's too much, and it's completely fine if you're one of these two people. Do what works for you. I will show you a birth video. There's nothing graphic to see if you don't like things like that, but it's just a way of showing how these techniques are used. So how do we actually do it? It sounds great, but how do we do it? And again, this is usually a 3.5 hour class, so it'd be quite condensed, like a whistle-stop tour. But brainwaves. It's important to understand that hypnosis is not just being relaxed, it's a very different state. And so there's 3 different brainwaves. One is beta brainwaves. That is, I haven't got 2 S's, that's annoying. It's everyday thinking and general awareness with 2 S's. I can spell. But like right now, beta, very aware, very conscious what we're thinking about, very critical. We can think about different things at once. Alpha is a general state of relaxation. So this is being relaxed. It's having a cup of tea, hopefully warm, not cold. It's having a shower and sitting down afterwards. It's having a bath. It's sitting in bed in your own pajamas with the lights off. That's getting yourself relaxed. So theta is the next level. And sometimes you don't realise you're in theta state until you come out of it. It's different to sleep. So sleep is a much deeper brainwave because we start to visualise things and almost embody and experience them. That is sleep. That's not theta. So we do enter this state just before we fall asleep. So have you ever had that experience where you're laying there and your eyes are closed and you're not awake, but you're definitely not asleep just yet? Theta. Another good example, if you're engrossed in a book or a film. Now, I love reading, and I'm the kind of person that can sit and read a book in a whole day, and the day will go by really, really fast because I'm so engrossed in that book. Theta state. If you're watching a film and it's 3 hours long, but it feels like 10 minutes, theta state. And the best example, if you drive, or even you go on a bus or take public transport, is my drive to work is about an hour. And I know how to drive a car at the back of my hand. I've been doing it for years. So starting the engine, getting the clutch, getting the biting point, accelerating, changing gears, signalling, taking exits, picking roads, knowing where to park, parking. It all just comes subconsciously to me. And so an hour's drive to work can feel like 10 seconds. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm at work. Theta state. Even long journeys, if you're really zoned out, listening to music, listening to a podcast, or over the driver themselves, you really start to zone out. That's theta state. So in this state, we are more responsive to positive suggestions and ideas. And so again, I'm good at examples, not descriptions. So I went to Morocco in September and I had to learn Arabic and French. And so I asked Dr. Google, what is the best way to learn Arabic and French? And Google said to listen to the languages in your sleep, because in your sleep, your mind is very open. And so it soaks things in a lot better. And to be fair, I learned Arabic and French very well. And turns out there's quite a lot of studies on these 2 techniques. So how does this work in relation to labour and pregnancy? So in pregnancy, Again, I'm good at analogies. I'm not good at descriptions. If you imagine that warehouse, that subconscious mind, it's like that warehouse has a locked door with a padlock on it. And when you get into that theta state, it's like a little spy, picks the lock, opens the doors, gets all the boxes, empties the boxes out, puts in better things, puts on the shelf, goes away, lock back on. You never need her in there. And that is how it works in pregnancy. And then in labour, when you pull out that box, oh wait, I don't have to be afraid of this. It's fine. I've got it. I'm coping. But also affirmations in labour. So when you're in theta state in labour, if somebody says to you, you are safe, you are doing so well, trust that feeling, you are doing amazing, I'm so proud of you, you're made to do this, your baby chose you for a reason. All those lovely affirming affirmations, they just sink in so much better. And I find the more you practice, the more you'll feel the benefit of theta state. At first, it might feel a bit odd. You might feel nothing's different. Second time, a little bit different, but it's still not great. By the fifth time, you think, actually, I really am a lot more relaxed now. And I find that I finish practice feeling a lot better. Plus, when I think about birth, I am less afraid now. And the more you practice, the more it just keeps emptying out that box, putting new stuff in it, emptying it out, putting new stuff in it. So when you get into labour and you think, labour, right, box. Oh, okay, it's all right. Yeah, fine, everyone stay calm, it's good. Oxytocin, endorphins. So, theta state, that box is full of lovely good stuff, lovely positive things. We are then relaxed. Oxytocin, endorphins, less adrenaline, easier birth, more contractions, natural painkillers, positive mindset. We are supported, we are informed, and we are safe. Keep saying that. So that is kind of like how hypnobirthing works. And the process of entering hypnosis itself, again, whistle stop tour, but you start by starting to feel relaxed. So go for a wee, have a glass of water, change your clothes, go for a shower. Give yourself a couple of minutes, just come back from work, give yourself 30 minutes, just chill out for a bit, eat something, put your hair up. If you're too hot, cool down. If you're too cold, warm up. It just starts to bring your attention forward to what you're about to start doing. And you start to ignore the distractions, the chip of paint on your bathroom wall, the day at work that you can't, you think your wheels on your car, something like that. It just starts to remove all that critical thinking in your head. And then you start to take the relaxation and focus to a deeper level. Now, this can be through the use of hypnobirthing scripts. And there are techniques to get into this theta state to kind of bring you into that deeper relaxation that I won't cover today. It's just a bit too much for 1 hour. But the scripts, they guide you into that with the techniques you can use. And then when you're in that theta state, the scripts will then give you these things to transform that mindset. And in labour, the affirmations just keep soaking in and feeding that almost ocean of positivity. That's very spiritual, but it's just like letting it all soak in and really taking effect on your body in labour. And then emerging, that's beta. And that's coming back to your full awareness, becoming conscious of your surroundings and opening your eyes, things like that. So that is a whistle stop tour. So I hope that all makes sense. Again, it is a recording, so you can't ask me questions, but you've got my email. It is in these slides. Just drop me an email. So I will share with you a very lovely water birth story. So again, I hope this works. I can't check because no one's watching this recording, but if I stop sharing, you can see me. And then if I share my YouTube video screen, Oliver's calm, gentle birth. Perfect. So again, I can't show you if you can hear it. This video. I'm going to put myself on mute. I won't distract you. I've just realised I was on mute that entire time. Oh, anyway, you got to see me talk, didn't you? Try and record it once and think it's perfect and just doesn't end up happening, does it? I'll see if I can edit that bit out. Either way, welcome to me. I'm usually much better at doing online stuff than that. But yeah, in that first story, what you can see, as I was saying, is baby is born quite pale and blue. That is very, very normal. Babies are a little bit blue because in TV shows and films they have to be at least 4 months old to be cast, so they are quite pink and plump. Whereas when they're born, they are a little bit blue. They're covered in something called vernix, and once at their first breath in, they start to become a lot more pink. The other thing was her partner. He was so calm, and I think sometimes birth partners get forgotten about, but their experience really matters also. I always say bring your partner to the classes if you can, even just one, because it means they can ask questions and then they feel important and valuable. But also, if they're informed about certain things, they can help you in labour, especially some of the stuff around about interventions or what to expect in labour. For instance, something called a transition phase. And if your partner knows about it, when you experience transition phase, he can go, this is transition phase, you're fine, you're safe, keep breathing through it, it will pass, you're doing amazing. And you could see when baby's head was about to come out, her partner, I'm assuming her partner, really reassured her, he really grounded her. And the most important thing from that is her big, lovely smile. She had a really positive experience. And as I will keep saying, if you feel calm, if you feel supported, and if you feel informed, you have the best chance of having a positive birth experience. And that's the main benefit of hypnobirthing. So, the 2 techniques I will teach you today. One is having an anchor. So an anchor is something that when used calms your mind and takes you away from a stressful situation. Now we all have our own anchors. So think about your senses. So one is physical touch. Could be massage, hand massage, foot massage, back massage. I teach light touch massage, but I also teach aromatherapy massage. Comfort such as pregnancy pillows, certain positions, maybe staying upright, walking around, cuddles, and skin to skin. Other ones, your sight. So dark rooms. Dark rooms boost a hormone called melatonin. It makes us go to sleep. And that's why when it gets dark, we get sleepy. It's why in winter we all want to go to bed at 4 p.m. But melatonin boosts our oxytocin. So that's why most babies come between about 1 and 4 a.m. in the morning. Darkness, oxytocin, contractions. Even stuff like a comfort film or TV show. For me, it's Pride and Prejudice. I know all the lines in that film. I know the songs. I know what happens next. And so watching it really helps me just ground myself and calm myself down. Bad day, Pride and Prejudice fixes it. Nature. So what are you listening to? You're hearing. It could be a nature sound like a bird song or a waterfall or a shower running or a bath running. On Spotify, they have stuff like making breakfast and busy pub and busy coffee shop and like busy playground. And it's familiar daily life sounds that might be a ground, an anchor for you that helps you ground. Calming music could be the kind of gong yoga music. It could be something called lo-fi music. It could be just relaxation music. Or it could be a podcast. Now, podcasts are very good at distraction. So they are really good in early labour when you kind of distract yourself from those building contractions. Taste. People forget, bring food that comforts you in labour. Bring little light snacks, but pick something you really enjoy. It doesn't have to be the healthiest thing in the world. Even bring your own tea bags. If you like herbal tea, bring that tea. And hospital tea bags are not always great. So if you're going to come into hospital, maybe bring your own tea bags. People do that. It does make a big difference. And then what can you smell? So smells that are really grounding, that are an anchor, stuff like lavender, chamomile, and citrus fruits. They are really good at relaxing us and making us calm. So lavender and citrus fruits are actually in the package I give all my families. I will discuss in a second. But also, if you use these anchors whilst you're practicing your hypnobirthing, when you use it in labour, your brain will connect the two and you'll have that positive, calming connotation. So yeah, anchors, that's the first technique. Second technique is using the hypnobirthing scripts. Now, I cover this one because I can send you a script called Learning to Relax. And it's a good script just to kind of get a feel for how it feels to use hypnobirthing. Because this is a recording, what I'll probably say is instead of doing the lemon relaxation that I usually do, I will send you the MP3 for Learning to Relax. Only because the sound quality, honestly, is a bit better on that recording than probably on the MP3 rather than this recording, that's why. But in total, I have 25 scripts that every family that I support gets access to. And the reason why I have so many, some are very specialist, so a breech baby, placenta previa, fear of needles, hyperemesis, things like that. But ocean, shooting stars, cloud, and anchor, they all involve visualization. They involve visualizing something, and they're quite general. They're not to do with birth. So your birth partner can use them as well. Whereas these ones are very, very specific. And from the title, you can kind of guess what they are. And birth partner is for your birth partner. Bonding with baby and first baby are actually postnatal scripts because it can be really beneficial for that breastfeeding to reduce postnatal depression. All those benefits are still there, but also general mindfulness is really, really important in everyday life. So yeah, scripts. It's using those techniques. It's relaxing yourself, removing all distractions, starting to focus more, starting the script, because the script will then guide you into theta state using these techniques that I would teach in my classes. And then your mind is more open, soaks in more, has a better effect, changes your mindset. It does take practice though. It's not you can do it once and it's perfect. And some people say they listen to the first script and just giggle. However, what's wrong with that? That's oxytocin, that's what we want. And you might find the first couple of times you do think, I'm just giggling, I can't seem to focus that much because I'm just distracted. It just takes practice. It is a skill. So those are the two techniques, and those are hypnobirthing in general. So a bit about my classes and what I offer specifically. So here's a little video of me packing a little goodie bag because it's easier to show you than to tell you. But Calm Birth's book, so that's the first thing you see in this video. It is a book of everything I cover in class. So if I teach you something, because I'm going to teach you a lot, and you think, I remember, but I can't quite remember what she said about it, it's in that book. Refer back to that book. If you have any questions, you can just ask me as well. Affirmation cards. I give you physical affirmation cards because you can put them around your house, put them near your front door, put them on the mirror, put them near the kettle, on the bathroom mirror, because then it can really make it kind of into your daily routine. And again, 30 times and your brain remembers it. And that's really, really important. Little bits often. Womb to World Art, if you haven't heard of her, look at her Instagram. It's amazing. And it's all about pregnancy education in the form of really beautiful artwork. And so the ones I give you, one is affirmations for birth, and they are so lovely. One is how to be a brilliant birth partner. And basically, I give you like an A5. Is a smaller one. Yeah, A5. You have an A5 version of those because then they can fit in your bag in the hospital. You can hand them to your birth partner and just say, hold these, tell me these, here's some reminders. Because whoever your birth partner is, your wife, your husband, your mum, your sister, whoever it is, they'll want some reassurance themselves and they can help kind of remind them what they should be doing. I also give you ones how to have an empowered cesarean birth. Now, you may not have cesarean, and that's completely fine. But I always like to say I'd rather be prepared for it all. So if you have it, if you did end up having a cesarean, because like I said, birth is unpredictable, babies are cheeky, you've got these techniques that you can use to help ground you, and it just reminds you in a visual format. If you never use it, give it to a friend who needs it. Give it to anybody, leave it in hospital. Give it to somebody in the ward that you see is going to have a section. It's a really way of just positively reminding you how to keep your birth plan almost as similar as possible and stay grounded even with a different circumstance. I give you 2 different essential oil blends. So one has lavender and sandalwood, and lavender, again, it's really, really calming. It also has citrus fruits in it. And the reason why I give you it is because if you put it on your wrists, on your neck, and you inhale it, it makes you automatically take deep breaths. It helps you practice your breathing techniques. But also, if you practice with these smells, you will form that positive connotation. You will form that anchor with them. So if you use them in labour, again, it's that positive mindset effect from those anchors. The second oil I give you is a blend of clary sage with other oils. Now, clary sage, if you haven't heard about it, can cause contractions. So you can't use it before 37 weeks. You have to be over 37 weeks to use it. But I give it to you because, again, it's a way of helping naturally induce labour. Plus, it smells quite nice to blend. Clary sage as an oil in itself is quite potent, and not everybody likes it. It's quite herbally, bitter almost. But in a blend, it does smell quite lovely. Chamomile, I just have a H in it. My spelling is horrendous. My boyfriend's just dying of a cough in the background, sorry. Chamomile lotion. Chamomile in itself is really, really calming. And it does have a H in it, I promise. But I give you this lovely lotion by Dahlia Botanique. And it's just self-care. It's a really lovely lotion to pop on your hands. Also, it's chamomile. It's soothing. It relaxes you. But you can also use it on newborns from 3 months. So when you can do baby massage, you can use it on them as well. So oxytocin boosting essentials, it's stuff like a face mask, LED candles, tea bags and herbal tea bags and chocolates, things that make you feel safe, make you feel happy, make you feel positive. Birth bag checklists. I give you a checklist for you, your birth partner and your baby. Otherwise, you will bring about 4 suitcases worth of stuff. I give you the essentials, but I also give you a couple of tips and tricks from all my experience. Birth plan. So I give you an A4 sheet, and my birth plans aren't, I do want this, I don't want this. A lot of my birth plans is, I would prefer these things for my environment. I prefer these things for my pain relief. And there's a bit about interventions, and the reason why that's on there is because if interventions are required, they are required, and there is usually a reason. You can always ask why they're recommending a certain intervention. So it's not really a great idea to say, I do not want it, because it may be a case of it's needed or you do want it. And so my birth plans say, I know about it, or I need to ask more questions about it. Because if you say, I know about it, and there's a space to put a question, you might say, if I want to have or have to have a cesarean, I would like my partner to cut the cord. Things like that. It's an A4 sheet. The NHS birth plan is 12 pages long. It's far too long and it's far too wordy. And so if it's an A4 sheet, it's really simple, it's really concise. Midwives will love you. It's a lot faster to read, but also it's a lot more comprehensive. It isn't yes or no, it's I prefer this, but if this had to happen, I would rather it be this thing. And in my classes, I discuss each element of that birth plan so that in between, you can read through it and write a birth plan if you'd like, and then ask me questions about it. Letter to future you. Now, this sounds a little bit cringy, but I think it's really, really important. I don't write this until after the course is finished because then I know who you are. But it's basically a letter to say, open me when you need it. So you open it when you had your baby, and there'll be a point where everything is a lot and you need someone to reassure you. And in this letter, that is what I do. So ongoing support. I'm your pregnancy encyclopedia. Any questions, anytime, I am here for you. And if I don't know the answer, I will find the right answer for you. Because the thing is, social media is great, but there are people with no qualifications handing out advice left, right, and centre, especially in the birthing world. And some of that advice is really, really dangerous. Now, I have a holistic natural background as a doula and aromatherapy and hypnobirthing, but also I have a medical background. I'm also going to be a midwife soon. And so I feel like I have a very balanced viewpoint. I don't say yes, definitely for things or no, definitely for things. I'm very much like, here are the benefits, here are the risks, here are alternatives, think about it. So even if I don't know the answer, I will find the right source of information for you. For instance, Sarah, I found her C-section information based on her circumstances. And then the MP3s, the audios, I give you 25. Again, some are very specific, as I've said, but they're there. And plus they're MP3s, you can download them, you can play them in labour, or just practice with them, whatever works best for you. So what do my classes cover? So how the body works, the pelvis, the muscles in the uterus, how a contraction works, the hormones responsible, in more detail as to what we've covered today. Breathing techniques, the 3 there are, and how to use them and when to use them. Natural induction, and how to use natural techniques to induce labour and why they work based on the hormones we discuss. How to prepare for an easy, calm birth. It's that ongoing support, that ongoing education. The practical, induction of labour, both natural and medical, because there are a lot of different ways to induce labour. The birth bag, the essentials to pack, and a few little bits I recommend. When to call the midwife or go into labour. Everyone says, how do you know when to go in? I work for the NHS. I know these answers. I will tell you. And I'll be like, here's a list of things. If you're ever unsure, call in, things like that. And signs of labour progressing. And then postnatal advice. So baby cares, breastfeeding, what colic is, what tongue tie is. And I also discussed the concept of something called matrescence, or that transition to motherhood and recovery. I've never noticed how much I use my hands until today. But yeah, a lot is included in that. And it's my little tips and tricks for baby cares. I've learned a lot over the past couple of years. And then the relaxation. How are the mind and body connected in labour? And it's going deeper into that mindset effect and how it all connects together. How a relaxed body births easily. How to reduce the risk of complications. How to enter a relaxed state. So self-hypnosis, brainwaves, and releasing fear and tension. At the end of every class I do a hypnobirthing practice to kind of open up that box, fiddle with it, positive inside, negative out of it. And that's kind of the main benefit of doing like regular classes online or in person with me. I'm based in East Yorkshire, but online is also equally as beneficial because I'm almost like a very gentle bully. Like a teacher, more like a teacher, because in between classes I expect you to practice, and that's because, like I said, the more you practice, the better the benefits. It's for your benefits, not me. And so every class I'll be like, have you practiced? How's it been going? Have you got any questions, any concerns? Do you want any advice? I could suggest certain scripts to you based on your circumstances, and it's a very gentle way of just making sure you're practicing. I'm holding you accountable because, like I said, practice is so important, and you will have questions, and you may find that certain things don't work for you and certain things do, and I can help you adapt the practice you're doing to fit around that as well. So because this is a recording and I'm already running over, because I always do because I talk too much, I usually do something called lemon relaxation. Now instead of doing that, I will send you the MP3 called Learning to Relax. It's a little bit longer. It takes about, I think, about in between 10 and 20 minutes. I've forgotten how long it is exactly, but it's a bit too long for this recording. Plus, you can download it and put it on your phone, which is easier than this. So yes, I will send you all of that. Obviously, my email is in the bottom right-hand corner. So it's sarah@breatheandbirth.co.uk. Obviously, you can pause this recording and write it down or email if you need to. The last thing to cover is just pricing, and if you'd like to book me, how you will book. So let me just change the screen that I am sharing. Hello again. Screen. This. So I'm showing my website. It's the easiest thing to show the pricing tables. So if you look at group classes, so it's a maximum of 4 expecting parents. So that is basically you and whoever you would like to bring along. It could be your mum, your dad even, or your partner, or your friend, or your sister. You don't have to bring somebody with you either, but it can be quite nice to have somebody else there to take all that information in too. Plus you get to meet other parents. Even online you get to meet other parents. So I am based in East Yorkshire, so I do in person in Beverley, which is in East Yorkshire. If you are based outside of East Yorkshire, I also do online. So it is the exact same course. It is just online in a format identical to this. And so it's a full 10.5-hour online course. It's 3.5-hour sessions. And the prices are the price per couple. So even if you came alone for the first class, if you want to bring your friend along. You want to bring your husband, your wife, bring them along. I'm really not very fussy. So if you brought your husband along to class number 1, and then in class number 2 he was busy, but your other birth partner would be your sister, bring her along. I said just bring 2 people, otherwise it's quite crowded in that room. But yeah, just bring somebody you need for support if you'd like it. It is a little bit cheaper, and just because there's no venue associated with it, so it's a little bit easier. The taster sessions is this, it's free. I also do one-to-one, and that is online or in person. Now, obviously, I am based in East Yorkshire. I'm between Leeds and Hull at any point. I work everywhere. So if you are close to those areas, in person is an option. If you live in Dorset, it is not an option. So I'd suggest online. So online is 10.5 hours. And it's the exact same course. It's 3.5 hours. It's one couple on a one-to-one basis. And the reason why people usually go for a one-to-one over a group is because they want that tailored support. They want that information specific to their birth circumstances. Plus, the class times are very, very flexible. I can do it whenever you are free. If our times match up, that's when we're doing it. Also, I'm quite flexible on how the classes work. If you find that you're free for 2 hours on a Tuesday night, and then you're free for 3.5 hours on a Sunday night, I'll just adapt the class length to fit around you. It also means you get that consistent person in pregnancy, and that is true for the group and the one-to-one. Nowadays, it's really sad, but we don't really get that consistent support in our pregnancy. We'll meet multiple midwives, multiple doctors, and with me, you'll see me for an entire month and beyond. I always say my support does not end when the classes finish. If you want support postnatally, all you've got to do is email. I usually give my phone number at the end of the class, only because I'm awful at picking up the phone, because I'm usually at work or busy. But I give my phone number and just say, if you need anything, you've got my number, just text me. That can be online or in person. It just depends where you live. So that is the group course. So that is 10.5 hours, all the antenatal stuff, all the hypnobirthing stuff, and the goodie bags all included. Now there's a hypnobirthing essentials course. Now that is designed for those that have already attended antenatal classes and would not like another one with me. Or if you just want to have a really quick refresher on hypnobirthing, you may have hypnobirthed before, and that is a 3-hour course. So it's one couple on a one-to-one basis online, and that is £60. Now the goodie bag is not included in that. If you wanted a goodie bag as well, you can pay for it. The goodie bags cost £45, and so it depends. So goodie bags are there's a lot in there. There's a lot in there. I spent a lot to make them really good goodie bags. And then birth plan and power hours. That's basically sitting down, working through the birth plan that I've created, going through all your options, answering all your questions. It's on a one-to-one basis for one couple. It can last up to 2 hours, but it kind of depends how much you need. I'm pretty flexible, like I said. If it runs a little bit over time, fine. And that is £50. And then a planned cesarean course. So that is a course for somebody who has a planned cesarean, because there is a little bit less information to cover because it's not covering all to do with birth itself. Again, online or in person, it depends where you live. It's a flexible class time. It's based on your preference and availability, and it's 6 hours, so it is not as long. So you can either do it 3 classes that are 2 hours long, or 2 classes that are 3 hours long, or if you really want one full day of 6 hours. Again, it's very, very flexible. So that's £120. So that's all the prices and what's included. The goodie bag is not included in the planned cesarean course because some of it isn't relevant to you. But I kind of my own little made up goodie bags. They don't have as much in it because again the books have got a lot of things about birth, and if you've got a planned cesarean, it is slightly different. So I give my own little information booklet, and I give it the essential oils and things like that, but not the clary sage one. That's everything. So on my website, under prices and booking, you can see here the links to all these different tickets. So they've got a taste session today and tomorrow. I've got an online course in March, an online course in March on Sundays and Saturdays, an online course in April. I pretty much have an online course every single month. I have an in-person course whenever the dates are available, is the truth. So the next one is in April, and that is in Beverley, East Yorkshire at Karinya Yoga. So it depends where you are based, but online is every single month. And one-to-ones are just whenever our dates fit together. So that is on the website, but it's also on Ticket Tailor. That's my website. I sell my tickets on Ticket Tailor. So if you want this recording, what I do is I'd send you the recording, but I'd also send you a link with all the details of this as well, and the link to Ticket Tailor. So I'll send you the MP3. You have access to this recording. So I usually send you the anchor page, so you can think about what anchor you could use, but you have this recording. I'd say just screenshot the page or just pause the recording and think about it. So I always run over, like I said. Oh gosh, it's almost an hour and a half. It's always running over. But I hope this was okay. I'll stop sharing this tab actually. There. So I hope this taste session was really informative. If you have any questions, it is sarah@breatheandbirth.co.uk. It is in this recording. And apart from that, that is everything from me. So after this, listen to that MP3. See how you feel. If you have any questions, let me know. But apart from that, that is it, the birthing. Whistle stop tour. But it was lovely to meet you. I will try and go to the bit where I'm on mute. If not, just laugh at me. Just laugh at me. But yeah, apart from that, have a lovely evening. Congratulations on your pregnancy. And yeah, I hope hypnobirthing is something you'd like to use. But yeah, I've got an Instagram, I've got a Facebook, and again, Instagram is breathe.and.birth. Facebook is Sarah Breathe and Birth, no spaces, no dots. So yeah, any questions, just let me know. But yeah, amazing. Lovely to kind of meet you in this recording. But yeah, hopefully see you soon online or in person.